Welcome back to All Spoilers. Okay, we have a lot to get through today because things in Genoa City are about to get seriously messy. Like multiple lives on the line, kind of messy. Let's get into it. So first, the big one. Matt Clark is back. Alive. And if you know the history there, you already know this is bad news for basically everyone. His return is not going to be quiet, and it looks like he's positioning himself to be a real threat, not just dramatic background noise. This could shake things up for some characters we haven't seen rattled in a while. Now Nick, he's been saying all the right things about his recovery, but the spoilers are pointing to him quietly slipping back into pill use. And the word is secret, meaning nobody around him knows yet. I wonder how long he thinks he can keep that hidden, especially with everything else exploding around him. Speaking of explosions, fake evidence is now in play, and it's already claiming its first victim. King gets arrested, and it doesn't stop there. Phyllis and Billy are reportedly next in line. Christine is already pushing hard to bring Phyllis in. So that legal nightmare she's been trying to avoid is basically knocking on her door now. Victoria, interestingly, is backing Victor's plan through all of this, which, makes sense on the surface, but this is the kind of loyalty that tends to cost people. Her relationships and her reputation are both at risk here, and I kind of doubt she's fully thought through how far this goes. And then there's Patty, still obsessed with Jack, which at this point is just kind of a permanent state for her. But the spoilers suggest she may actually drug him again, so that situation is more dangerous than it looks. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to keep getting spoilers like this, packed tight and no fluff, please subscribe, hit that like button, and drop a comment below. It genuinely means a lot and keeps us going. And hey, we just launched something new, our Viewer Prediction Edition. Think of it as your weekly crystal ball moment. We break down the whole week, you drop your predictions, and we've got polls running so your voice actually shapes the content. Jump in, because your reads on this show are honestly sometimes better than the writers. The Young and the Restless Chaos Week Breakdown. Okay, let's talk about what the writers are actually doing to us this week. We're not just getting drama. We're getting a perfectly orchestrated disaster where nobody is safe. And honestly, I don't even know who I'm rooting for anymore, because literally everyone is making terrible decisions. If you've been watching Genoa City for more than 5 years, you know one thing. When Matt Clark's name gets whispered, bad things happen. But this isn't your typical villain returns arc. This week, it's personal, it's messy, and it's going to force you to make some hard predictions about who actually survives this storyline intact. So before we break down every scene, every confession, and every shady transaction that's about to hit this town, stick around, because we're crowdsourcing your predictions. Your votes might just call the shots on what you think happens next. The Matt Clark problem. Why this isn't just another villain arc. Here's what most people get wrong about Matt Clark's return. They think this is about simple revenge. Like he's gonna show up, yell at Victor, maybe threaten Nick, and we move on. Wrong. Matt Clark isn't a one-note bad guy. He's a destabilizer. His whole history with this family is psychological and violent. We're talking about a man who hurt Sharon, who has beef with Nick going back years, and who knows about the family's secrets in ways that could genuinely blow everything up. What makes this week different? By midweek, Wednesday/Thursday episodes, around the 1:15 mark in those air times, Matt's presence isn't just about confrontation. It's about leverage. He knows things. He's not just angry, he's calculated. And when someone like that shows up in Genoa City, the writers don't waste screen time. They weaponize it. Here's what we're actually watching. A man who can bring down multiple people at once. Nick, Sharon, Noah, they're all tied to his history. Add Victor and Sienna to that circle, and suddenly Matt's not one problem. He's a domino effect waiting to happen. Real quick, before we go deeper, I want your take. Based on Matt's history and what we're seeing in the previews, who's actually in physical danger from Matt Clark? A. Nick Newman directly. B. Someone close to Nick, Sharon/Noah. C. Victor, because it always comes back to Victor. D. Multiple people. This gets violent. Comment below which one you're voting for, and tell me why. Superfans know the history better than the wiki. Let's see if you're right by Friday's episode. The addiction undercurrent. Nick's relapse. The detail everyone's missing. Nick showing relapse signs isn't a throwaway plot point. This is Melissa Ordway, Victoria, and real-life substance abuse storyline convergence. And the writers are being deliberately subtle about it, because that's how addiction actually works. People don't announce it. They slip. The thing is, Phyllis catching on? That's not random. Phyllis has her own history with pills and control. She can smell it on someone else. And when Victoria hears a partial confession, that's not comfort. That's evidence she can use later. And trust me, she will use it. Here's where it gets twisted. Nick's struggling, but simultaneously, Victor and Victoria are setting traps that could actually push him further. The fake evidence they're planting? If Nick gets caught up in that web while he's already unstable, that's not just a scandal. That's a mental health crisis happening in real time on screen. Most people see this as separate storylines. It's not. It's designed to intersect. Addiction plus legal pressure plus family betrayal equals the writers setting up a breaking point we haven't seen Nick hit in years. This brings us to prediction number 2. How does Nick's addiction spiral get resolved? A. Victoria finds out and sabotages her own fake evidence scheme. B. Michael steps in before it gets worse. C. It gets significantly worse before anyone notices. D. Sharon figures it out first, and it strains Nick/Victoria. Drop your vote and tell me, which outcome do you think makes the best television? Because honestly, C is the messiest, and mess is what Y&R does best. The fake evidence scandal. Victor and Victoria's biggest mistake so far. Okay, let's be real about Victor and Victoria's plan. It's not smart. It's desperate. They're planting fake evidence because they feel cornered. Billy's pushing. Phyllis is involved. Kane is collateral damage in a war he didn't start. But here's what the writers are setting up, and this is important. The people orchestrating false arrests are the same people who love each other most in this show. That's psychological warfare directed inward. That's not sustainable. That's a ticking time bomb with a 2-week fuse. When Christine gets brought in, and she will, she's not just a prosecutor. She's a problem solver. She knows Genoa City. She knows these families. She's going to smell the setup, and the second she does, everything crumbles. What people aren't talking about. Victoria doesn't have the poker face for this. She runs a company. She's a mother. She's trying to maintain this image of control while actively committing a crime with her father. That's not a B-plot. That's character dissolution. By Thursday/Friday, around the 2:30 to 3 o'clock minute mark of those episodes, we're going to see cracks. The kind that make you go, oh, she knows this is wrong, and she can't unsee that anymore. Time for the big one. Who actually gets arrested first? A. Billy, the easiest target. B. Phyllis, the most dramatic. C. Kane, the tragic surprise. D. The whole thing falls apart, and Victoria confesses to someone. This is the vote that matters, because arrest sequences on Y&R always shift the power dynamic. Whoever gets arrested first gets to own the moral high ground for at least 3 episodes. Vote strategically. What do you think happens? Phyllis in the crossfire. Why this week might actually end her. Phyllis Summer is basically standing at the intersection of every terrible decision on this show right now. She's caught between Phyllis the parent, who needs stability, Phyllis the businesswoman, who's getting framed, and Phyllis the person with substance abuse history, which makes her look guilty even when she's not. Michael's her lifeline, but Lauren warning him off? That's real. Lauren doesn't hate Phyllis for no reason. She's worried Michael's going to sacrifice his reputation for someone who's literally about to get arrested. And here's the thing, Lauren might be right. What gets me is that Phyllis's old rivalries aren't coming from obvious places. They're coming from inside her circle. Michael might genuinely drop her case because of Lauren. That's not a villain move. That's survival instinct. And when you're Phyllis, survival instinct from your own allies is the most brutal betrayal of all. By midweek, we're looking at a woman who feels completely isolated, who's about to lose her freedom, and who's probably going to make an impulsive decision that echoes for weeks. Real question. Who abandons Phyllis first? A. Michael, Lauren pressure plus survival mode. B. Her kids' family embarrassment. C. Sharon, because history. D. She manages to hold everyone close despite everything. This one's personal for longtime viewers. Phyllis has been on this show forever. We've watched her survive everything. So the question isn't whether she survives this. It's who stands beside her when she's on the edge. Vote. Patty's delusion spiral. The wild card nobody's prepared for. Patty Williams is the character we sometimes forget about until she does something absolutely unhinged. And this week, she's having delusions, which means she's operating on a completely different reality than everyone else in Genoa City. Her targets are Jack and Diane. That's significant because Jack and Diane exist in a weird space. They're not really villains, but they're not heroes either. They're comfortable, and Patty sees comfort as complicity. The drugs angle, that's how the writers escalate her. Not just emotional manipulation, actual sabotage that could land someone in the hospital. Maybe worse. Here's what's clever. Patty's storyline doesn't exist in a vacuum. While Victor, Victoria, Phyllis, and Nick are all dealing with their crises, Patty's adding chaos to the chaos. She's a random element in a carefully constructed scheme, except she's not actually random. She's a consequence of everyone being too focused on their own problems to notice the person who's actively losing her grip on reality. By Friday's episode, around the 3:45 to 4:15 mark, we might see a moment where someone realizes, wait, Patty's not part of this plot, but her actions are about to derail everything anyway. Last big prediction. What's Patty's actual target this week? A. Just psychological games, threats, manipulation. B. Actual harm, drugs in their system, physical confrontation. C. She accidentally hurts someone else in the crossfire. D. She gets caught and institutionalized again. This is the dark one. Patty episodes always carry that edge. You never know if she's going to step back or step forward into genuine danger. Where do you think this goes? The family fracture point. What most people get wrong about this week. Everyone's focused on arrests, trials, and legal consequences. Honestly, that's the surface. The real damage is relational. Victoria is choosing her father over her own moral compass. That changes how her kids see her. That changes how Nick sees her. That changes everything about the Newman family dynamic that's been rebuilt after the last crisis. And here's what's important. She knows it's wrong. She's not being coerced. She's choosing. That makes it worse, because now we're watching a character actively poison her own relationships for business strategy. We talk about Nick and Sharon like they're solid, but they're not. They're fragile. Nick's struggling with addiction. Sharon's watching him struggle and can't fix it. Add legal pressure and family betrayal into that mix. And suddenly this week isn't about them versus Matt Clark. It's about them versus each other. The violent history? That's just the excuse. The real explosion is going to be internal. Final prediction moment. Which relationship actually breaks this week? A. Nick and Victoria, business plus family betrayal. B. Sharon and Nick, addiction plus secrets. C. Victor and Victoria, moral disagreement, consequences. D. Michael and Lauren, case pressure. This is the one that matters long term. Y&R is relationship television. The legal stuff resolves in a few weeks. Family fractures? Those last for seasons. Vote based on what you think actually sticks. Here's what happens next. So here's what this week actually is. It's the moment right before everything tips. We're not watching consequences yet. We're watching the point of no return. Matt Clark is just the catalyst. The real story is what happens when good people make bad choices in rapid succession. The fake evidence, the relapse, the delusions, the family betrayal. It's all designed to hit on the same timeline so that by Friday, we're at maximum chaos. Nothing's been fully resolved. Everything's about to explode. But here's where you come in. I'm genuinely curious if your predictions match what actually airs. Hit those polls in the comments. Tell me, who gets arrested first? Does Nick's addiction get revealed? Does Victoria's scheme backfire? Does anyone actually stand by Phyllis? What's Patty actually going to do? Which relationship breaks? Come back and let me know if you called it. Because the superfans in this community always catch the details the show itself glosses over. You're basically co-writing this at this point. And if you want the full breakdown with timestamps for every scene, every confession, and every shady Newman family decision, drop a like, subscribe for daily episode reactions, and hit that notification bell because we're going deep on Y&R this week. One more thing. If you've been watching since the 90s, if you remember when Matt Clark first came on screen, if you can actually picture the history, this week is for you. The writers know you know. They're building on that history. So don't just watch. Predict. Theorize. Tell me if I'm completely wrong. Let's see who's actually paying attention to what's happening in Genoa City. See you tomorrow.